Hello, it's Carrie Cordy. It is a Wednesday, the 26th of 2016. Shit has gone really, really bad for me right now. Last week, had the whole week off because of the storm that hit. The shrimp boats weren't going out, so there wasn't anything. This Monday, there was work. I was driving to work, and I have to drive to the next town over, and so I take the 101. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 actually, and I was just driving, heard a noise, and I started to lose power. Needless to say, I drove the rest of the way, most of the drive, doing 25 to 30 miles an hour. And I leave early enough so the guy that I work with, I give him a ride. I go early enough so me and his girl, we're real good friends, we sit down and we talk and drink coffee for a little bit. I really enjoy this. And I ended up just making it just barely on time. And after work, I, gave him a ride home. On the way to taking him home, I went through a puddle and my Jeep started acting up again. Rewind a little bit. When I got into town, I got some gas and put some oil in it. That seemed to help. Didn't fix it, but I didn't think it would. I didn't have the time to look and check. I had to get to work, and my Jeep still moved. So I drove. Anyway, on the way home from taking him, yada yada yada, I went through a puddle and it started sounding weird. It started squealing. And not in the S-belt, slipping and squealing kind of a way. This was distressing. And then suddenly I lost my power steering. When I got to a place I could pull over, I looked at it and my S-belt had snapped. We were close enough to an auto parts store. Rather than take him home, I drove directly there. For everybody that doesn't know, when your belt snaps, you are not recharging the battery because it's not hooked up to the alternator. Your water pump isn't hooked up, so your fluid, your radiator fluid, is not circulating through the engine to cool it down. You don't have power steering. These things are very important for a car to work. I got to the auto parts store right as my battery was dying. And I got a new S-belt, but then discovered that my tension pulley was broken. So, it created enough tension that I could really limp it. But my battery was dead. And so I had to get a jump. It started, and it was just, the belt was hopping. This was bad. And so started kind of doing the math and everything, gonna do it. And it's like, well, I need to get the tension pulley. So I went back in the auto parts store. And the tension pulley was $70. And I tried to pay for it. My card was declined. I just have a debit card. I don't have any credit cards. I have no credit. Nobody will give me a loan. Well, I haven't searched everybody. But you out there should know what I'm talking about. So I couldn't buy the part. So it's like, well, if I'm really careful, this will work. And so I drove my friend a short distance home, dropped him off, and popped my hood while the Jeep was still running. And the belt was okay. It was seated fine. And so I pulled out, and I'm driving out of the apartment complex parking lot. I get just outside of the parking lot, my Jeep makes a ka-chunk, and it stops. I get out to look at what happened, and my water pump had dumped radiator fluid all over the street. And I'm in the middle of the street. And it is an area where I had a very public job at 7-Eleven, and so the people know me. And several people stopped. Are you okay? Are you okay? Do you have someone coming to get you? And I was like, no, this just happened. I've got a friend that lives right here, and I'll be okay. The belt was not situated good either. So I put the belt back on, and I drove it the short distance back to where his apartment was. And my Jeep was smoking like the nine hells. And I got it into the spot. I chose a spot at random, and these are all reserved spots too. I just picked the one that was close and I could pull into real quick. As it turns out, by random fucking chance, I pulled into his parking spot for his apartment. And they don't have a car. So that random shit is just amazing. So I had no money. I have no way home. And I don't have the money to fix my car. I called and called desperately looking for a ride. And the only friend I had that could give me a ride was out of gas. So I put $10 of gas in her car so I could get home. Because I had left my hormones at home, and I can't miss a dose. And this would be 2 doses, maybe 3, depending on when I could get back up to the town where my Jeep was. Like I said, 26 plus miles away. And small towns, there's not the big city bus systems. So I got home, and I am just as low as it gets. I had a friend come over. He had some really horrible things happen. And he's that kind of friend, and I'm that kind of friend. If we have horrible shit going on, we'll still do what we can. I love having friends like this. The friends I have are all like this. I don't keep people in my life that don't make an effort. And sometimes the only effort that can be made is saying, what can I do? And the response is, I know what your situation is. And what I need right now is not something that you can really provide. And still they will rack their brain for a way to help me. Just like the way I would if I needed to help them. I would do whatever I could. I hope that never changes with me. I really don't. So there's several groups on Facebook, and I posted them saying, I will trade my Jeep for any working vehicle. And I got several responses, and so I had to beg for a ride up to Coos Bay, because I had some people coming to look at it. I got up to Coos, and I was waiting. One guy showed up, looked like he was going to get it. He was going to go get a trailer, because it cannot be driven. It has to be towed, and since it's full-time 4-wheel drive, you have to get a flatbed. You can't just tow this without unhooking the driveline from the front wheels. Otherwise, there will be damage done to the transfer case. And so, and the other person didn't show up. And if they would have called me earlier, I could have gotten a ride, but the only person that could have given me a ride back can't drive in the dark. And it was dark. And I'm begging for a ride. I'm calling and messaging people that I know don't have cars, and I know can't find rides for themselves. But out of desperation, I'm reaching out to anybody I can think of. And so, a lady that lived too, 3 towns over. She had messaged me from one of these posts that I was just, I'll just give up my Jeep for anything. I will just give it up. Because I'm not going to get a paycheck this week. And I don't have enough money for parts. I need to get to work. There's work this week, and the shrimping season's almost over. So the ships are doing the turn and burns. They drop off and they go out. They're doing as much as they can before it ends. So there's lots of work for me. I can't get to work. I've done the math. It'll take me 4.5 hours, 5 hours to walk. So that's leaving at like 1 o'clock in the morning to walk to work. Getting off of at 4. Spending another 4.5 hours, 5 hours walking home. Getting 4 hours of sleep. And then doing it again. So I go to the bank and I check how much money I've got left. I had $40. And so I start calling any place I can for the water pump and go to my original plan of just limping it with the tension pulley, which is putting me in danger because I could have that S-belt snap and jump off at any time. And I don't have enough to have a spare belt in the back if this happens. And so today is when I discovered the $40. I'm calling around and I found a part. I found a water pump, a remanufactured one, for $39.98. I don't know if there's a court charge. There probably is. There always is. So in order to get this done, I have to remove the water pump, walk to the parts store, get the part, turn in the deposit, the part for the deposit, so I can get it, and then walk back and put it in. Anybody who changed water pumps, it depends on the vehicle as to how much swearing and time that you have to get it done. And hopefully I still have the right tools in my Jeep. Things have been crazy. I have all sorts of tools missing. It's just what happens when you're in a situation like mine. You accept it and you keep moving. So today it's really, really stormy. And I live in Utah. I've worked on my vehicle. Sorry, my phone ran out of space. What I was saying is, I live in Utah, and I've worked on a vehicle with ice and snow, ice on the ground, blizzard, and having your fingers so cold you can't really grip the tool or the bolt you're trying to get out or get in. That shit sucks, but you really don't have a choice sometimes. And so with the rain, it was like, let's get this done. But I couldn't find a ride up to my Jeep to get it fixed. And so I just kind of well, I'll just take the day to kind of recuperate. And it's something I needed. It's something I cannot afford. But, like this morning, I was in the fetal position in the corner crying, sobbing. That's how much hope I had. And I haven't been around for my new little kitty. So when I get home, after being gone the vast majority of the day, she's really, really, really hyper. And she wants to play. So she was playing harder than normal. She would latch onto my hand and my wrist and sink her claws into me. And she was play biting harder than she ever did. She sunk her teeth into me to where the point I had to like pry her mouth off of my hand. That shit hurt. So I was kind of losing my shit last night and this morning. And so, I walked to my bank and check it. There was this whole thing with my app on my phone. And I won't tell that, but, and I didn't want to call. The people at the branch in my town really they don't like the tranny. Oh. So, I walked to the outside ATM to Smith for cars. I checked it, and that's when I discovered that the $40. I have a little bit over $40, but I withdrew the $40 in cash. So I knew that I had it. So I could just walk in and not have to rely on my card. Because with the way things are going, who knows, maybe my number would be stolen and my account would be cleaned out by the time it did. I didn't want that. I needed the money on me. Guaranteed that I had it. The point I was making when I talked about that lady lived several towns over, an hour away, over an hour away. She offered to give me a ride. And her post was not one I was going to respond to because it was just, is there anybody that can help you kind of thing. And I wasn't going to, but it was just, I was sobbing and praying, and it's just, I got this calm feeling that washed over me. I looked at this post and I responded to it. And I just kind of let the words flow as I was typing. Needless to say, she offered to take me home. She drove an hour with her husband just to pick me up, to drive me home, and then drive an hour back to her place. Complete fucking strangers. And they helped me when I really, really needed it. Because once again, I did bring my hormones, and my cat had been locked in a trailer all day. And when I got home, he was out of water and almost out of food in his dish. So if I would have slept on the floor at a friend's house, my cat would have got hungry and thirsty. The chance of dying. I could have had coming home to a dead pet that I've had a week, that I got from a friend that was in dire straits and needed a caring place for his loved pet. And on top of that, after being homeless for so long, the importance of sleeping in my own bed, in my own place, it was just everything. To have to sleep on a floor again. And then, I could have taken a cab with my friend to go to work. But then I get off at 4 and I'd be in the same boat I was in. How am I gonna get home? How am I gonna fix my car? So I'm back to my original plan. Change the water pump and limp it on the broken pulley. So when I say shit is bad, if I go homeless again this time, it's with the clothes on my back. And it's walking away from everything I have. The very, very little that I still have. Like my dear friend said yesterday, money isn't everything, but in times like this, it really is. There are people out there where $200 doesn't mean much. But to me, it means not being homeless again. How can people in this world, because I'm pretty fucking sure that everybody that sees this is really a paycheck or two away from being homeless. Why do we get lost in petty fucking bullshit like abortion, religion, corporate taxes? It goes on and on and on. How long are we gonna play their fucking game? How fucking long are we gonna let these goddamn people tell us what's fucking important? They don't want us to know that there are more of us and there are more of them. Fuck the people in power, because they don't have any fucking clue what's important. And I hope to God if I ever get money, I just don't keep it and think I deserve more. I hope I always keep the perspective that $20 is a lot of goddamn money. And I hope if I can help people that need it. I hate seeing people in need that I can't help, because I have to live with myself. It's been a really, really emotional time for me. It is hard to find a lot of comfort in the fact that right now I can eat and I can sleep in a place that's dry, that I have electricity to plug in my heater, to recharge my phone, make sure my electric razor is charged. Because when you're homeless, when I am homeless, finding enough water that you don't have to constantly pay for is hard. So shaving with water and a razor and shaving cream or shaving lotion is really not financially feasible. So when I shave with the electric razor, and then I go over it with the normal razor. I dry shave. What's the choice I have? Because when it gets down to the point of me cashing in change, just to have enough gas to get to work, those extra few cents on some water to have a comfortable shave, that's the kind of stuff that gets put on the back burner. That's the kind of stuff you have to choose. What is the most important? What do I have to save the little I have to get through to the next chance of having some money in my hand, in my bank account? So I need to share these things when they happen. There's a book out there called Bright-Sided, and it's basically written by a cancer survivor. And she talks about how these, pink ribbons and these cancer organizations, these walks, they don't do any good. You could say and point out things that there is good that happens, of course. Nothing is ever black and white. But on the whole, the vast majority of these organizations, charitable organizations, like, the Red Cross, has a overhead that every dollar donated, 46 cents of that goes towards operating costs. How many people out there know this? That when they didn't have money and shit hits the fan and they want to help, they give money to an organization like this. Do they know that almost half of their money is going to somebody's pocket? I don't donate to charity. I help people that I see and I interact with. If somebody I don't know needs help and you know, they need something mailed, like another trans person, that I have some silicone breasts that I don't use anymore to pad my bra, because my breasts are growing enough to where I don't have to. I feel like enough of a woman that I don't have to. I would send these to a complete stranger that needed them and charge nothing. I like that. I like knowing that my overhead was a stamp and something I didn't need. I need the money. I could sell them. But it means far, far more to me than to help somebody else with nothing, too. These are the things that are important. Just like I love when a good disaster hits. Because suddenly the important things in life come into focus. Your family, where you live, where you sleep. Can you eat? Can you drink? Can you help your neighbor that's in the same situation? Can you find comfort with each other and help each other out and become stronger for it? These are the things that are important in life. And with this culture, it is so easy to think about your sports team losing is huge. To think about not getting that raise is huge. To watch the boss's son do absolutely fucking nothing and get a raise for it. Those things truly aren't important. They help because we have to live in this life. We have no choice. It's something we got to do and something we have to experience. And each and every person has to search for what's important to them. And I found that with me being myself, I don't really truly look at other people's shit and judge. I have a lot more compassion. And I always thought I had a lot, but I'm discovering that my compassion seemingly has no end to its depth. That's good to know. It's good to know that when I'm feeling like a piece of shit, I have friends and even strangers that tell me, no, you aren't a piece of shit. You are a good, caring person. I need that. We all need that. I'm just gonna go ahead and end. You know, sharing these helps me. I do it because I need to share. And I watched that clip after my phone ran out, and I realized I named the town up. It's not something I wanted to do. I would have liked to keep more anonymity. But when I did the public post in these closed groups, essentially it's public, I'm letting people know who I am. And I knew this would happen. And I'm begging for help, and yet there's always that piece of shit that's messaging, trying to fuck you. That's the danger of being trans. There are predators out there. So I named the name of the town, and I'm going to keep it in. I'm doing this channel, I'm naming my name. And now I'm telling you where I live. Like the rest of my life. It's in God's hands. What He's going to do with it, I have no idea. My life has been down as it gets, for me. Whether it gets any further down, we shall see. The only time I can say this is the farthest down I go is after I'm dead. I hope that's a far way off. I hope your shit gets helped by friends, family, strangers. I have been putting myself on the line to have the real possibility of horrible shit happening. Because I'm finally betting on the good. And it's not something I've really done in my life. This is scary stuff. But I am learning I can face my fears. I've come real close to being broken permanently. Spiritually, body, I've come really close. The amount of times I've almost died. Are not small. And I'm not alone. The more that is shared, kind of like the more that the transgender issue is brought to light, the more that they find that people didn't know how many of us there are out there, and that we've had to hide out of necessity for survival. We are starting to be ourselves and not to hide. And so for all the people that have stood up and continue to stand up, I find a lot of strength in you. Thank you. We don't need to agree on any issue. But we have compassion. We are lucky. We have found something in life that means more than anything else. And I think that's a big problem that all the other people have, whether they realize it or not. I think most people can't understand finding something that important in life. I am grateful I did. I think everybody needs to find something like that. Gives you a whole new perspective on what life is. So whatever is important to you, hold on and search. Always search. And I will talk to you later.